right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We are back. Continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week, we are going to be taking a look at Deuteronomy 7 and 8. Deuteronomy 7 and 8. And the title is The Entire Command. The Entire Command. So we'll go ahead and we'll just read through chapter 7. We'll read chapter 7 and then we'll go ahead and go through all of the, well, not all, but some of the important things that we see inside of the chapters. Let me go ahead and pull up for us Deuteronomy chapter 7. We'll go ahead and read through that as soon as I get it up here on the screen here. All right, go ahead and read that for us nice and loud.
It says, when Yahweh your Elohim brings you into the land which you go to possess, he shall also clear away many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when Yahweh your Elohim gives them over to you, you shall strike them and put them under the ban completely. Make no covenant with them and show them no favor, and do not intermarry with them. You do not give your daughter to his son. You do not take his daughter for your son. For he turns your sons away from following me to serve other mighty ones. Then the displeasure of Yahweh shall burn against you and promptly destroy you. But this is what you do to them. Break down their slaughter places and smash their pillars, and cut down their asherim, and burn their carved images with fire. For you are a set-apart people to Yahweh your Elohim. Yahweh your Elohim has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession above all the peoples on the face of the earth. Yahweh did not set his love on you, nor choose you because you were more numerous than any other people, for you were the least of all peoples. But because of Yahweh loving you, and because of him guarding the oath which he swore to your fathers, Yahweh has brought you out with a strong hand and ransomed you from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim. And you shall know that Yahweh your Elohim, he is Elohim, the trustworthy El, guarding covenant and loving commitment for 1,000 generations with those who love him, and those who guard his commands, but repaying those who hate him to their face to destroy them. He does not delay to do so with him who hates him. He repays him to his face. And you shall guard the command and the laws and the right rulings which I command you to do them, which I command you today to do them. And it shall be, because you hear these right rulings and shall guard and do them, that Yahweh your Elohim shall guard with you the covenant and the loving commitment which he swore to your fathers. And you shall love and shall love you, and bless you and increase you, and shall bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your land, your grain and your new wine and your oil, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flock, and the land of which he swore to your fathers to give you. Blessed are you above all peoples. There is not going to be a barren man or a barren woman among you, or among your livestock. And Yahweh shall turn away from you all sickness, and put on you none of the evil diseases of Mizraim, which you have known. But he shall put them on all those who hate you. And you shall consume all the peoples whom your Yahweh your Elohim is delivering over to you. Your eye shall not pardon them, and do not serve their mighty ones, for that is a snare to you. When you say in your heart, these nations are greater than I am unable to drive them out. Do not be afraid of them. Remember well what Yahweh your Elohim did to Pharaoh and to all Mizraim. The great trials which your eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders, the strong hand and the outstretched arm, by which Yahweh your Elohim brought you out. Yahweh your Elohim does so to all the peoples of whom you are afraid. And Yahweh your Elohim also sends the hornet among them, until those who are left, who hide themselves from you, are destroyed. Do not be afraid of them, for Yahweh your Elohim, the great and awesome El, is in your midst. And Yahweh your Elohim shall drive out those nations before you, little by little. You are not allowed to destroy them at once, lest the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. But Yahweh your Elohim shall deliver them over to you, and destroy them with a great destruction, until they are consumed. And he shall give their sovereigns into your hand, and you shall destroy their name from under the heavens. No one is going to be able to stand against you until you have destroyed them. The carved images of their mighty ones you are to burn with fire. Do not covet the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it for yourselves, lest you be snared by it. For it is an abomination to Yahweh your Elohim. And do not bring an abomination into your house, lest you be accursed like it. Utterly loathe it, and utterly hate it, for it is accursed.
All right. Very good. Okay, so let us go back up here. Look at a few things that we see over here in the text. We go back up. Let's see here. Let's begin at verse 2. When we see up here where, of course, Moses here is continuing. This entire book is Moses speaking to Israel, dealing with, kind of a refresher course as to how to be. There was a point in the beginning chapters that he dealt mostly with kind of a historical kind of reminder of the journey through the wilderness up to this point. And now he's kind of going into kind of something that could be like unto a sermon, encouraging discourse, with the people in terms of preparing them to go over into the land. Things that have already been spoken. There's not new things that are given in this book in terms of new laws. These are things that he's going, reiterating, going over with the people again to prepare Israel to go over into the land. So over here, we're going to look at verse 2. Just go ahead and read verse 2 again for us.
It says, "And when Yahweh your Elohim gives them over to you, you shall strike them and put them under the ban completely. Make no covenant with them and show them no favor."
Okay, very good. I want to look at a couple things here. If we pull up here, verse 2, let me move this. Let's see here. Strike them, smite them, utterly destroy them. It's interesting. This scripture's version says to strike them and put them under the ban. The King James says to smite them and to utterly destroy. If we look over here, this is the same word here, utterly destroy. What's the word? Haram. To seclude by a ban. Destruction, to be blunt as to the nose. Accursed. Consecrate is interesting because, we know consecrate is really just kind of set apartness. So but the set apartness here would be set apart for no purposes, right? Set up separation from altogether. When we think about what is being said by the Most High in regards to these particular people, first of all, we in the context of what's being written, we have to understand that this command that's going forth is in regards to Canaan and the nations that abide there: the Hittites, the Girgasites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Mm-hmm. Right, these 7 nations that dwell in these places. Those nations, he's saying, utterly destroy them. Right, utterly destroy them. Make a total separation with these people. There's no thing that no connection that needs to be made with these people. It's interesting when we think about these people, this land of Canaan. These people are chosen for destruction. Actually, these people here were chosen for destruction. The same way that we look and see that Israel was chosen to be a blessed people, we're also able to look and see that these people, these 7 nations that dwell within the land of Canaan, were chosen for destruction. And so it's interesting when we think about this idea of what we look at in terms of these people. I mean, you might say, these people, they never had a chance. These people, what did they do? Why does the Most High look at these people and say, they're not worth anything, right? And you, my people, Israel, are able to go and just take over their entire situation. This land that they possess, this land that the scriptures tells us that is flowing with milk and honey, this great and wonderful place. why has this people, the Canaanites, been chosen for destruction? It's something that I think that we have to be able to remember and understand that. Here, let's go over to Jeremiah 17. Jeremiah 17. Read for us verses 9 and 10.
It says, "The heart is crooked above all, and desperately sick. Who shall know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I try the kidneys, and give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds."
Okay, very good. It says over here that the heart is crooked. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Right? It's deceitful above all things and desperately wicked, the heart is. And so when we look at the heart of man outside of the Most High, this is, the baseline. Crookedness, deceitfulness. What's this word here? Akob, a knoll as swelling up, fraudulent, crooked, deceitful, polluted. Okay, this thing, this puffed up thing, this thing that's full of pride, this thing that is deceitful and crooked, right? But it's the heart, though, right? And so when we understand, if we can understand who Yah is, if we can understand who the Most High is, his character, the things that define who he is, we should also be able to understand what the absence of him, the absence of Yah is, and what it produces. When we have a separation from the Most High, this is the result. The heart is crooked above all and desperately sick. The heart is deceitful above all and desperately wicked as a result of our separation from the Almighty One. Right? When we think about things that are, and things that come about as a result of the absence of those things, we can think of things like heat, right? The opposite of heat is cold. But when we think about it in terms of opposites, I don't know if it's, I guess it's opposites, but one is the absence of the other, right? Cold is the absence of heat. Right? If we were going to try to describe what cold is just utter stillness, right? Because heat is, is movement, it's friction, right? If we looked at the molecules inside of fire, that stuff is, it's moving, right? It's alive. It's busy, right? It's moving. There's friction, which causes fire. And so the absence of heat, when you take that away, is just coldness, right? When we think about light, right? Light is something, right? Light is something. There's light particles. There's things that, if we was to look at light, from a molecular view, there's something that's there,
Yeah.
right? You see something.
Yeah.
Darkness is the opposite of that. There's not things there, right? You take things and put them in darkness, right? And so you're able to see. If we look out in space, if you believed in such things, it's dark because there's nothing there, right? And the places where there is something there, those are things that they take up space, right? They're there, right? They exist, and you can't see them unless they're either emanate light or reflect the light in some way. And so again, we have darkness, which being the absence of light. And so when we think about this cold, dead, wicked, deceitful heart, right? This heart that's deceitful and wicked. Here, what's this word, wicked? Anash, frail, feeble, desperate, wicked, incurable, sick, woeful, right? This is the condition of your heart because it lacks something. It lacks life, right? It lacks the thing that causes it to be alive. It's interesting. Let's look over in Genesis 1. Read verse 2 right there.
It says, "And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters."
Okay, very good. When we think about the Most High in His creation, He took this thing, this earth thing, which was formless and empty. This thing that was tohu and bohu. Let me see what these words are here. These things that was out form and void. Right? There was tohu. It was this place that just lie waste. Right? This place of desolation, of worthlessness, right? This empty, void place, right? Tohu and bohu, right? This place that was also empty, right? Indistinguishable. This place was, right? It was emptiness. It was void. It was nothingness, right? And so this place of nothingness, this formless and empty, dark place, was nothingness until the Most High comes and injects Himself into the situation, right? Moving across the face of it, and then He speaks creation into being, right? The first thing He does, of course, is bring light. Right, He brings a light to the situation, and He begins, the Most High, to introduce order and function to this tohu and bohu, to this empty, formless place of emptiness and disrepair, right? But it happens when He adds to the nothingness, right? He adds to the nothingness. So there's nothing there. It's nothing. It's tohu, it's bohu, it's worthless. It's nothing, right? Until life is introduced into the situation. We need Yah. If Yeshua is life, if Yeshua is life, how is there life without him? There isn't, right? You can't have life without the one, who actually is life. Look at this verse here.
Wow.
Look at Proverbs 6. Read verse 23 right there.
Says, for the command is a lamp, and the Torah a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life.
And reproofs of instruction or discipline are the way of life. But it's just talking about the law. It's just talking about the commandments. It's just talking about the Torah, which is the character of the Most High humanized. If the Torah is for us life, how do we have life outside of it? We don't. And so when we look back at these people that are separated from the Almighty, these people who are the inhabitants of the land of Canaan, these people are bound for destruction because their heart is full of destruction. Right? The Most High gives these people what it is that they deserve. Right? Because he judged them according to their cold and wicked hearts. Okay? And so he says, these people can't help you. These people can't help you. The only thing that they can do is hurt you. The only thing that these people can do is bring you away from life. The only thing that these people can do is bring you away from light. The only thing that these people are able to do is to bring you into death. So they need to be utterly destroyed and put under the ban. These 7 nations, these people that occupy the land where you are. Back in Numbers, we see where the Most High tells Moses, to tell the people when they go in and conquer these other nations. These other nations, kill everybody, except for the pure daughters. The daughters that are pure, you can keep those ones and marry them. But everybody else, the ones who have been with men, all the men, they die. Right? But over here, he's saying, nah, none of them. These people, these particular nations, these 7 nations, these Canaanites, these Perizzites, these Hivites, these Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, and the Hittites, all of these ones, they got to go. They can do nothing. There's no redeeming these people. Right? There's no redeeming these people. When we think about the predeterminations that the Most High makes, he judges people based on their actions, right? And so if he knows that these people can only be who they are, then, he knows that there's no point in saving these people, right? And so again, he gives the order for them to destroy them utterly, right? Destroy them utterly, make no covenant with them, show them no favor. Okay? He says, he goes on in verse 3. Read for us again, verse 3 3 through 5.
5 says, "And do not intermarry with them. You do not give your daughter to his son, and you do not take his daughter for your son. For he turns your sons away from following me to serve other mighty ones. Then the displeasure of Yahweh shall burn against you and promptly destroy you. But this is what you do to them. Break down their slaughter places, and smash their pillars, and cut down their Asherah, and burn their carved images with fire."
Yeah. Go in there and tear their stuff apart. Don't just kill the people and leave all of these things over there, because people going to come up and they're going to look and they're going to say, what's this thing over here? What's these groves that they have over here? These groves that they have, these idols formed into these kind of natural things over here. This place where they do all of their wicked worship. Right? What are these places? He didn't say just kill the people and leave their wicked places. He said to break down their slaughter places, to smash their pillars, to cut down their asherim. You know, these are these groves that they what do they say this is over here? You know, they had these little places where they did their dirty work. Asherim. It translates it as groves in the King James. Asherah, happy, this goddess, Ashtart. You know, this is where we come up with Easter. Right? Ishtar comes from Ashtart. Different places, had these different names. We're walking through the store the other day in Africa, not Africa, Ari's talking to me about why do they have all of these bunnies and different things, at the store. And I'm like, Easter is coming, right? When we look at what the Most High instructed for Israel to do when, he went, he sent the people into the land. It's interesting when we look back at what the early Christian people did when they went and they did their conquering. One thing that they did, which was detrimental to the whole situation, was instead of going in and taking over these places, and just causing for the people to follow along with, what they were doing, there were times that they caused for there to be kind of a ease in transition, where they would allow some of these other nations to have some of their festivals and cultural things kind of just folded into what we know as Christianity. And so when we get to the place where we are in this time, when we go look at where we're at in this time, we look at things like Christmas and Easter, and, we look at these things and, from somebody who doesn't know, these are quote unquote Christian holidays, because we're hundreds of years removed from these things' origins, not understanding that these are things that kind of folded their way into the situation, and were disguised as being connected to the Bible, when in all actuality they were not. When we think about the golden calf situation, it's a prime example. They had this golden calf, they had this thing that they were worshiping, but when they were worshiping it, they called it Yahweh.
Yeah.
They said, we're going to have this feast unto Yahweh tomorrow. But they had it worshiping this golden calf. And so that's because of the fact that they did not, the people in their minds, the people, because we talking about, well, Israel, what did come out of mixed multitude. But we're talking about in their minds wasn't cleansed from all of the things of the past. And they had so much corruption inside of their minds still. They didn't know how to properly worship the Most High. And so they incorporated all of this stuff in to their worship, which of course the Most High hated. And so to prevent these things, these types of things from happening, the Most High said, just tear all that stuff up. Right? We don't want to revisit these things. The only things that these people can do is bring you away from me. Right? And so he says, furthermore, verse 3, furthermore, utterly destroy them. Don't make a covenant with them. Show them no favor, and you shall not intermarry with them. You shall not intermarry with them. Let's look at this a little bit. Let's think about what this means, what this can mean for us in this day and age. Because we in our captivity, we're not going and slaughtering any nations anywhere, right? We don't have a people, a unified people to go and do any of these things. But the idea still holds true in terms of as being a people that are connected to the Most High. We have to maintain who we are as representatives of the Most High. And so when we think about the idea of making covenants with heathens, making the one of the most important covenants that an individual makes, being married, intermarrying with those that are on the outside is something that severely hinders some of the foundational things that exist within this life that we live as Israel, right? Because if we are supposed to put the law of the Most High on our hearts fully, and then teach our children to do that also, if we have some type of discrepancy, it's going to cause huge problems, right? Maybe the father follows after the Most High, and the mother doesn't, or vice versa. The mother does and the husband doesn't. Now you have these children who what do they do? Right? Do they say, well, I love my mommy, I'll do what she says, or it seems easier to live the life that daddy lives, let's do what he do. You have this conflict within a household, right? You're not able to properly fulfill the laws that the Most High has created for a family. Let's look over at some of these New Testament scriptures over here. Let's turn over to 2 Corinthians 6. Let me make this bigger. Go down to Read 14 down through 18.
14. It says, "Do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness and lawlessness? And what fellowship has light with darkness? And what agreement has Messiah with Belial? Or what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? And what union has the dwelling place of Elohim with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Elohim. As Elohim has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says Yahweh, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says the Yahweh the Almighty."
Okay, very good. So again, we think about, if we just start down here and go work our way back up, and we think about the idea of, coming out from among them, those that are not connected to the Most High, and being separate and not touching what is unclean, and I will receive you. How do we do that if we are involved in, again, the most important covenant that an individual would even make with another, the institution of marriage? If that is defiled, the whole foundation of the family is destroyed, right? And so when we think about this idea of what the apostle is saying over here, the principle is based on what we look at when we see over in Deuteronomy chapter 7, this idea of yoking yourself, being bound to someone that is not on the same path as you, right? Unequally yoked with unbelievers. We as followers of Yeshua, from a marriage standpoint, that's one way to think about this. From a marriage standpoint, we most certainly as single people can't go and find for ourselves people who are not believers in the Most High, and expect for our lives to be anywhere close to what the Most High has created for us to be.
Yeah.
That's one way to think about it in terms of a marriage situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but look at what he says over here. Like, he's saying, he's comparing this thing, right? Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness and lawlessness, right? Two opposite things. What partnership do these things have with one another? Righteousness and lawlessness. They have no a partnership together. And it's kind of the same, along the same lines of what we was talking about before, in terms of things such as light and dark, righteousness and lawlessness, right? If we're talking about uprightness, walking in an upright way, that's walking according to law, right? Walking according to boundaries and structure, right? So what does structure have to do with non-structure, or the absence of it, right? We're talking about total opposites, right? How does light fellowship with darkness? It can't. One is going to affect the other and cause the other to be something other than what it is, right? If you're in a dark place if you're in a place that's totally absent of light, and you light a light in a place that's totally absent of light, where that light is, there'll be light, but all around it there'll be darkness. Right? There's going to be darkness all around. So the things that the light touches, or the thing that the light shines itself upon, there'll be light there, but all around it is darkness. Right? And so you have these countering opinions that work against each other. We're talking about individuals. If I have a way of thinking, a way that I think about things, a frame of reference, and my spouse has this totally other frame of reference by which she regulates her life. What is our life going to be like whenever it comes time to making decisions and things? It's going to be a fight every single time, right? Because I'm going to want what I want, and then she going to come along and with her darkness and be wanting to influence me, right? And so what's this world teaches? A counter, here, let me put this up here. A counter narrative that opposites attract. Yes. Opposites attract. Yeah, if you're talking about magnets. If you're talking about magnets, they attract, right? But when we're talking about people, right? These aren't things that we have to be looking for and towards, right? I've never seen two people that one is rooted in the faith and the other one is not. I've never seen two people like that make it. It's a problem. And if they do make it, it's a fight, right, at every turn. And so, we're given wisdom over here by Paul. We're given instruction over there in Deuteronomy that these two things can't mix. These things have no business with each other. And so I'm taking it to one level when we think about the idea of a marriage, but also when you think about friendships, the friendships that we form. Throughout my life, there was many people that I would call my friend. But as I became older, as I became closer to the Most High, you don't have anything in common with these people anymore, right? And for you to kind of force the issue, it would be just that. It would be you just forcing the issue and remembering, sit around and remember the things that you used to do, right? Which was probably wicked, right? And some bunch of debauchery, right? But we have to be able as believers in Messiah to not only when it comes to, people that we choose as our spouses, but even people that we call our friends or people that are able to influence our lives in any way. We can't allow for there to be this mixture in our situations, right? Because it's always, the negative is always going to be on top. Right? Somebody had this illustration where they had a person standing in a chair and a person standing on the floor. It's easier for the person on the floor to pull you off the chair than it is for you standing on the chair to pull the person onto the chair with you.
Yeah.
Right? The slightest imbalance, right, pulls you down off of the chairs from standing, right? But it takes great effort to take the person that's on the ground while you're on the chair to get them up to where you are on your chair.
Yeah.
And so when we think about this from a standpoint of righteousness and lawlessness, from a standpoint of light and darkness, this is the way that we got to think about these things, is that the same way that Paul describes, these two things have no agreement with one another. No agreement. Right? And so we have to be able to form a type of separation in our lives with those that are on the outside. And we can't allow for those that have these contrary opinions that are connected to the God of this world to be influenced over us when we are followers of Yeshua HaMashiach. All right, before we get too far, what some of these people over here in the comments section saying over here. That's why we can't be of the world's traditions. Yes, very good. You can use this principle in all relationships. Yes, that's what I'm saying. You can't. It's not just only and not can, right? We must use this principle in all relationships, right? We can't sit up there and have these people who we would potentially call our friends that are on the outside. What's this word fellowship mean? What's he trying to say over here? And how deep is this word here? Right? Are we talking? What's the word mean? Let's see. Fellowship. What fellowship? What does word mean? Intercourse. Fellowship. So we're talking about intimate relationships. Intimate relationships. Our intimate relationships can't be mixed relationships. Right? That's what he's saying over here. Let's see here. This is why Yah said to show those 7 nations no favor, no mercy, right? To protect the purity and light of what Israel was to be. Yes, and when we look back, this is the main issue that Israel's always had. Israel's always had the problem of looking at these other nations and allowing for these other nations to have influence over Israel and causing for us to turn and change our ways to where they are like unto their ways. And this it always turns out bad for us. Let's see. That makes sense. Intimate relationships have the most influence. And when you think about children, when you think about young people, right? When you think about young people, when they begin to be in their kind of their real formative years, your formative years really begin kind of around puberty, right? When you're around that 13 years old, kind of middle schoolish age, right? From there onward, right? Throughout your adolescence, right? And so at these times, and this is why this whole school situation is so important for people to be able to understand how much of an impact it is when we send our children away to be taught by the nations. Your peer group as a child has the most influence over you. More so than your parents, more so than anybody else, your teachers, whatever. Your peer group has the most influence on you. You'll do what them people want for you to do more so than you'll do what your parents and your teachers want for you to do at that age. And so think about the way that we go and we send our children in their most formative years, and we send them off to be unequally yoked with unbelievers.
Wow.
And we basically choose these people that we want. I'm saying that we want to influence them because we obviously want them to be influenced by them. That's why we send them over to these people who's going to be with them longer than what they're going to be with you. Right? They with these people most of the day. They come home and eat dinner, watch a movie, and go to bed. Right? If they got extracurricular activities, they're with them longer. Than they come home tired out, take a bath, and go to bed, and wake back up again and go back out with these other people. Right? And we send our young people off to be shaped, informed, and molded by those that are against us. Right? And so that's what this is over here. What Paul's talking about in terms of being unequally yoked. Forming and having these intimate relationships with those that are going to negatively influence you to come away from the Most High. Let's look at some of these scriptures over here. Again, when we think about Deuteronomy chapter 7, this is what the Most High, this is what Moses is telling the people that needs to be avoided. Take these people out, take their groves out, take their pillars out, all these things. They don't even want, he didn't even want for the people to be able to look to something and for them to wonder what that thing was, to think that maybe it was this idol that could potentially be worshipped. Take all of those things out of there, the people and their things of worship, and put their ways and thoughts under the ban. We not allowed to touch those things. Let's go over to John real quick. What's it say? What's this? We got these list of verses over here. What's John 15 and 19 say here?
15 and 19. And it says, if you were of the world...
Here, read 18 and 19.
Okay, it says, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world. For that reason, the world hates you.
Okay. Guess what? If you live a life and your life don't create conflict, if your life is in perfect harmony with the world, then you got problems. If your life is in perfect harmony with the way in which the world will have for you to be, then you probably in gross iniquity. I'm just gonna say. He said, if the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. Don't worry if the world hates you, because the world hated Yeshua first. He's trying to give some consolation. Like, it's cool that the world hates you. Don't worry. They hated me too. Like, this is what our life will be as far as of Yeshua. The world's going to hate us.
Yep.
And he's saying, it's cool because the world hated me first. They hated me too. But if you're of the world, then the world will love you. Right?
Yeah.
If you have these close ties and intimate relationships with the world and the people of the world, you got no problems. You got no issues. Right? Everything in your situation is all well and good. I got problems. There's hiccups in my situation. Because, I sit up here, I have these days that I don't work. And these people, they love to work. They love to go to work. They love overtime. But there's days that I am not available. Right? And me being who I am, I'm not in the in crowd. Right? And so, some people they don't never come to work. They be off all the time. And still have a job. But people like me, we take off, it becomes a problem. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Our days that we have that are set apart for us don't coincide with their days. Mm-hmm. Right? They have their Christmases and their New Year's and their Easters and their so on and so forth. Right? But none of those days are apply to us.
Yep.
All of our days is some other time. Right? Because we're on a separate calendar than these people, right? And this is just one example, right? This is just one example of how our lives don't coexist. Well, they coexist, but they don't coincide with each other, right? We're doing things that they aren't doing, and so. We live and have to deal with these people in this world, but we're not of this world, right? And we can't expect to receive the love of this world. In fact, what we should expect is to receive hate from this world. What's it say in chapter 17? Chapter 17. Let's see here. Start reading at verse 16.
They are not of the world, as I am not of the world. Set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. And for them I set myself apart, so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but for those believing in me through their word, so that they all might be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, so that they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. And the esteem which you gave me, I have given them, so that they might be one as we are one. I in them, and you in me, so that they might be perfected into one, so that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me.
Okay, very good. So again, understanding, Yeshua on his way out, letting his disciples, he's praying for his disciples and those that will believe in the message that his disciples were going to deliver in the future. But we have to understand that, this is in fact our life.
Mm.
Is that we are set apart on so many levels. And even though, we can't always have all of the things that the world says that we should or supposed to, quote unquote, have, um, we have what we need in Messiah and in those that follow diligently after Messiah.
Mm.
Right? We need to seek to form any type. I mean, after all, we're social beings as human beings. We are in fact social beings.
Yep.
Right? And so, but we have to understand that there's people that are out here doing the things that we are doing. And, seek those people out and form intimate relationships with those people.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being out here trying to be with and be like these other people who aren't going to do anything but bring you outside of the character that the Most High is trying to build inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we think back to Deuteronomy chapter 7. This wasn't even, there was no options involved. Go in there, destroy the people, destroy the remembrance of the people, and establish that which the Most High has for you to lift up and build up and establish in that place. Right? He didn't want no remembrance of those things that were over there.
Yep.
Right? We live in this place where people want you to embrace the diversity of everyone, right? Understand these other people's cultures and treat them a certain way. They think that they're the way that they think, and you think the way that you think, and everyone's right. The scriptures don't teach us that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Israel didn't get sent over to this place and say to these people, we know that you people like to worship idols, and that's fine. You do you, and I'm gonna do me. That's not what we see over here, right? He said, go in and utterly destroy these people and put them under the ban. Right? There can't be any resemblance of what was left over, because that's all that we need. That's all we need is just that little bit of leaven to leaven the whole lump.
Yep.
You just need that little bit of sin in there to cause you to go all the way left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So again, when we think about this idea of not being in a world, of course, something obvious that we could think about is, these idols and things that can be connected with idol worship. Right? We can look on the society that we exist in today, and we can sit up here and make a list for days about things that are connected to idolatry, right? To blatant things, right?
Yeah.
When we think about the idea of let's look at what's 1 Timothy 5:22 say. Hold on 1 second. 1 Timothy 5:22
says, "Do not lay hands on anyone hastily, nor share in sins of others.
Keep yourself clean.
Okay, very good. So thinking about the idea of partaking in the sins of others, right? Sometimes people sit up there and come over here with me and help me with this thing. Instead of you saying, well, what thing? Or, what you getting into? Like, what is it? Like, all right? You just go and then get there and find out there's all kind of debaucheries and things going on because you wasn't diligent in your righteousness, right? We have to be diligent in our righteousness, because unrighteousness is all about us, right? We have to be diligent in our righteousness because unrighteousness is definitely diligent with their unrighteousness, right? It's real easy for you to just slip and trip and fall into some unrighteousness if you're not diligent about your unrighteousness, right? And first of all, if you're not being unequally yoked with unbelievers, it prevents you from being partakers of other people's sins because you're not even dealing with other people on this intimate level where you could accidentally slip into this thing or that thing. Right? But it says, do not lay hands on anyone hastily. Right? We don't think about the fact that, we're up here in 2022 and now all of a sudden all of the demon possessions that Yeshua, he went around exorcising demons and laying hands on these people with these evil spirits on them all the time. And so now in 2000 and however many years later, these things aren't reality anymore. People out here got demons and spirits on them, right? And if you aren't able to maintain a certain level of connectedness with the Most High, you gonna mess around and be laying hands on somebody hastily, and get some of that stuff gonna come off on you. And you gonna be sitting up here wondering why you this way or that way, when you sitting up here getting oppressed by some devil on you.
Wow.
Right? But these things are helped when we don't even have these intimate relationships with people that's on the outside. Right? We have these intimate relationships with people that are on the outside. We have a less of an opportunity to sit up here and hastily lay hands on somebody who's going to negatively affect us, or to share in the sins of others. If we're dealing with, for the most part, people that are living a life that is sin free. Okay, he said, keep yourself clean. He's talking about being separate from these people that are going to negatively influence you and bring you into a state of unrighteousness. What's Ephesians 5 and 11 say? Ephesians
5 and 11?
Yeah, verse 11.
It says, and have no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, but rather convict them.
Okay, very good. Right. You have no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, but rather convict them. Right? there's nothing that you need to be hearing from those that are on the outside. Those that are followers of the prince and the king of this world. You can't allow for those people to have influence over you, right? You seek to have influence over them only, but rather convict them. What's that word mean here?
Prove.
This word is to confute, admonish, convict, convince, rebuke, reprove. You know, I had this happen to me just yesterday. I'm in the shop doing some commerce, right? And this guy, I felt like he was preaching to me. I felt like this guy was preaching to me, and he just was having a good old time talking to me about whatever he was talking about. To tell you the truth, I don't even remember. And it was just yesterday. And I heard words coming out of his mouth. But those words obviously they have no effect on me, because first of all, the place that I was, I know that these people, they don't believe in Messiah. I just could know that, right? And so I know that wisdom comes from Yeshua, right? And so I'm going into this whole thing with the premise of that these people outside of Messiah, how they gonna sit up here and talk to me about anything? They can't, right? And so when you think about the idea of what this is saying over there, having no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, if we know that the light comes from Yeshua and you're outside of Yeshua, then that puts you in the category of darkness, and then whatever that you have to offer is fruitless. It must be, right? I don't know how it could be. And so, you know, I'm cordial. I'm not rude. Right? Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. And I'm out of here. Right? I do my business. And then I'm out. Right? Because we're in the world. We're not of the world. Right? We got to go out here and we got to conduct business with these people. When we looked and we saw Israel wanted to go through Edom, Moses said to tell to the people, you know, we want to come through your land. We're not going to cause no problems with you. You know, we'll come through your land. You know, we'll buy food from you. We'll buy drink from you. You know, we'll conduct business. We'll have commerce and stuff with you. But we're just gonna stay on the path and keep it moving. But that's really the way in which we got to live our life. We have to live our life out here in this world. Is that, you know, we have to interact with. It's not like we cannot interact with the world because we're in the world. And you know, it's not like we could just go somewhere and just be only to ourselves all the time. You know, we could go somewhere and be only to ourselves most of the time, but at some point we got to go out and deal with these people that's out here. Yep. And when we do, we have to understand that we have no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, but rather we convict them. They can't convict us. There's nothing that they can have that we, you know, can better our lives when we are living after Yeshua, right? We have to convict those people, we're supposed to go out into the world and cause people to turn from what they're doing and turn to what we are doing in terms of following after the master Yeshua. Right? If you're not following after the master Yeshua, you're walking a path that leads unto death. Right? And so the only thing that you could tell me is what you're seeing on your way down this road to destruction, and I happen to actually already know what's over there. Right? And so, again, so we're in the world, we're not of the world. And so we have to we got to go out and we have to conduct our business with these people, but we don't have to form these intimate relationships with these people. Nope. We don't got to sit up here and think that we got to go out and have a good time and enjoy amusements with these people. It's interesting, I work in construction and deal with these people that are, for the most part, it seems, in the world. And, they got, some of these people, they always got some foolishness to sit up here and say and laughing about ridiculousness and vulgarness. And it's a hard task at times to operate through the day with these people who everything that comes out of a person's mouth is about wickedness. Mm-mm. And then I tried different things. I tried to, they sit up here and say these little nasty things, and then I don't have any response, or I have a fake response. And nothing works. Nothing works. Nothing stops these people from being how they are and talking to you about foolishness. Right? Nothing stops the wickedness from flowing. Right? And so you're under a constant barrage of wickedness. And if you give in to the wickedness, you're going to find yourself, you're going to fall right into it.
Yep.
And so, it's so easy. It's so easy for light to be dimmed or overtaken by darkness. So, we have to continue to understand that we, as a set apart people, have to kind of form a bubble around ourselves to increase in the separation, because these people are going to always seek to have a negative influence over you, and we outnumbered. You're always in the minority. Which is fine, because again, Yeshua said he was in the minority first. Before they hated you, they hated me. Right? That's what he said. And so, we just have to continue to remember that, the Most High has created for us with the idea that we are his set apart nation, and we cannot bend and try to conform to the ways of the world. What's 1 and 2 say right there?
I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well passing to Elohim, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of Elohim.
Yeah, very good. We cannot be conformed to this world. Mm-hmm. We cannot be conformed to this world. We have to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, which comes through the power of the Holy Spirit and eating and digesting this word, his character inside of us. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Because when we go down, he said in verse 6, read verse 6 right there.
Says, "For you are a set apart people to Yahweh your Elohim. Yahweh your Elohim has chosen you to be a people for himself, a treasured possession above all the peoples on the face of the earth."
Yes, we had to go in and annihilate these people and destroy all of their things because we are a set apart people unto Yahweh, chosen to be a people for Yahweh, his treasured possession, his choicest jewel. What's this word here? Treasured possession. His special people. His segula. What's this word here? His segula. His special, set apart, treasured people. Shut up. Wealth. Not shut up like shut your mouth, but when I take my treasures and I got them locked up in a safe somewhere because I don't want nothing bad to happen to them. Right? My things that I got in my safe that I don't want nothing bad to happen to. People. Right? His special, set apart, treasured possessions, which we are as followers of Yeshua. He said he didn't set his love on us or choose us because we was more in number than the other peoples. It's not because he caused you to be his special people, not necessarily because you was special in and of yourself. He made a decision. Again, we talked about love the other week. He made a choice and said, I'm going to deal with you a certain way that don't have nothing to do with what you are, but what I determine you to be. Because he swore an oath to our fathers, right? They have nothing to do with who we are, but everything to do with what the Most High said he was going to do for us. All right, let's talk about verse 9. Here, read verse 9 through 11.
"And you shall know that Yahweh your Elohim, he is Elohim, the trustworthy El, guarding covenant and loving commitment for 1,000 generations with those who love him and those who guard his commands."
All right, stop right there. So, again, Deuteronomy 7:9 is an interesting verse because it's kind of causes us to want to know something. And the thing that is causing for us to know is something that actually strengthens us when we know it. He said, you shall know that Yahweh your Elohim, he is Elohim. That's something to know that causes us to have strength as we live this life in this world that is supposed to be against us. Understanding that Yahweh, your Elohim, is Elohim. Your mighty one is mighty one. The one who is your power, he is the power. And so anything that could potentially attempt to come up against us while we're in him is going to have a problem because he is the power.
Yep.
And not only that, but he is the trustworthy L. He's trustworthy. What that word do? He's faithful. He's Aman. He's faithful. He's built up. He supports. He's faithful. He's firm. He's trustworthy, right? He's permanent. He's not wishy-washy. It's interesting that the thing that the Most High requires of us, he is in and of his own self. He wants for us to be faithful, but he's faithful towards us. He's not asking us to do something that he don't do for us. Right? He calls for us to be firm because he's firm. And look, it says that he is a trustworthy L, guarding covenant and loving commitment for 1,000 generations. Right? He calls for us to keep his covenant. But this is talking about what he does. He is Elohim. He's trustworthy. And he keeps his end of the bargain. And he just wants for us to keep our end. He going to keep his end. That's not in question. But he's letting us know that he indeed keeps his end of the bargain. I'm going to do my part, he said. You just do your part. And, you know, we're in a place where us doing our part really is just trusting. Us doing our part is us just trusting that he'll do his part. Right? Because he said he's going to give us the strength to carry out his word. So in order for me to do that, I literally have to trust in what he said that he would do. But he's saying that he's trustworthy. And I'm able to trust him. Right? And so this verse over here is an empowering verse because we're able to look at it and understand that, you know, Moses is encouraging the people to understand that the Most High is there for his people.
If you think about the world, it's totally opposite. They want you to be trustworthy, but they're not trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be, you know, upright, but they ain't upright. It's like, you know, it's like our government, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, they expect their citizens to be law-abiding citizens, and they break the law.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're choking people out on the corners.
Mm-hmm.
They're going into other countries, assassinating leaders, and just doing all kind of wickedness.
Yeah.
But they expect a certain thing. They're hypocrites.
Yeah.
And that's the Most High is not a hypocrite.
Right.
He expects from us what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when we think about what it is that the Ruach HaKodesh inside of us is, he places his character inside of us and strengthens us and empowers us to go forth in his character. He already did it the way, you know, from an external standpoint in terms of telling the people, this is my character. Now you go and follow it out. Right? But he proved to us that we, without him, are not strong enough to be who he would have for us to be. We need his strengthening and empowering in order to go forth and do what he would have for us to do. And he's provided that for us through his Ruach HaKodesh. And so it's interesting that when we look at this thing, we look at this verse number 9, 7 and 9, where it talks about his loving kindness to 1,000 generations. We think about this idea of 1,000 generations. It's kind of It's kind of a poetic speech where it's not like it's just 1,000, then
Forever.
it's forever, right? It's not just it's a number that's so big that you can't really think about it, right? 1,000 generations. It's like that's crazy. If you sit up here and look at the amount of people that take up, like if you just was to look up 6 generations, fathers and fathers' fathers and fathers' fathers, you would get to thousands of people by just going back 5 generations. But when you think about 1,000 generations, right, it's this huge thing. This is the measure of his loving kindness towards those who guard the thing that he's going to guard. When we guard the thing that he's going to guard, like I don't like when people talk to me in mights and maybes and things like that. I don't understand that. Like, to me, I want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to know what could happen or what might happen. What's going to happen? What's it going to be? I always listen to people's language, the words that people use. People sit up here and do some funny business on you, right to your face, but because you're not paying attention to the language that the people are using, you miss out on it, right? But the Most High don't play these games. He said that he is your Elohim. He is Elohim, and he's faithful, and he keeps his covenant and his loving kindness to 1,000 generations to those that love him and keep his commandments. And it's interesting that we have this thing here where it's this kind of a if-then conditional thing, right? He does all of this for those that love him and keep his commandments. But again, the thing about it is that we live in this day, in this time where we have access to the Ruach HaKodesh, which actually puts his love on the inside of us. So he's asking for us to use the thing that he's blesses us with to please him. I got this thing here, and the only way that you could please me is to use it. Here, take it. Take it. Take it. That's all it takes. Everything that I want from you is in this cup. Just take the cup. Just take it. I can't deal with you if you don't take the free gift that I'm giving to you. I can't deal with you. You're dead already if you don't take it. Here, just take it. That's what he does for us. And we out here not taking the cup. Wondering why we're lost. Wondering why life is so hard. He told us that life is going to be, you're not going to make it. You're going to die. You're already dead. You're already condemned. And he provides everything that we need for us if we will only just take what he's given to us. He said that his loving kindness is to 1,000 generations. But he also said, read verse 10, what he said.
He said, but repaying those who hate him to their face, to destroy them. He does not delay to do so with him who hates him. He repays him to his face.
Yeah, that's just what it is. He's not being around the bush. He's not playing no games. He don't delay. I'm gonna hate you to your face. If you hate me, I'm gonna hate you to your face. I'm not gonna. The knowledge is there. If either you love the Most High and accept the love that he has for you, or receive the consequences of his hate that's openly going to be given to you. It's pretty straightforward, right?
In this verse, do you think he's talking about Israel or he's talking about the world or everyone?
Oh, well, he's speaking specifically to, well, Moses is speaking specifically to Israel. This, but his truth is universally true. Well, it's not true to the Canaanites. It's not true to the Canaanites because he clearly just told these people to annihilate the Canaanites.
Right.
But outside of these 7 nations, it's true for them. He has loving commitment for those that know that Yahweh is your Elohim and that he is Elohim. I mean, that's universally true. But in the context, yes, he's speaking to Israel. It's Moses speaking the words of the Most High to Israel. But this is universally true to whoever will. You know, Yeshua came for a specific people. It's as simple as that. He came for a specific people. But there's other people that could come to the party. You know, he gives the analogy. He sent the invitation out to his people first. Come to the wedding. People wasn't trying to come. All right, you don't got nothing to wear, maybe here. I'll send you the clothes to wear. Wear the stuff to the wedding. Here's. And you got the stuff that finds the things thrown out in the streets. Right? So then he goes out and gets people then now. He goes out and gets these other people who gladly come to the wedding. The people who he first invited didn't want to come to the wedding. But so there's other people that are able to benefit from the thing that was literally directed towards his chosen people. And, you know, again, the same thing is true for, you know, all those who follow after, you know, his ways. Okay, it says, and because of the perversion of the world we live in, which repays evil with good, people do not know and cannot see when Elohim is hating them. Yeah, I mean, you know, people, it's interesting that we live in an interesting world, you know, and you know, life is set in motion. And, you know, cause and effect and reap and sow, all of these things are real. All of these things exist. If you do certain things gonna come back to you. Like if you you know are this wicked person who goes and you know achieves riches in an unrighteous way, you know you're achieving riches, but that's not blessing though. That's not a blessing that you know, it's just 1 + 1 = 2. It's just reaping and sowing. But there's a reaping that you do in your sowing of wickedness that we don't think about, that, you know, that people have to deal with. And, you know, we live in this world where, you know, wickedness is perceived as righteousness. And you're some kind of, you know, there's something wrong with you for viewing this person's lifestyle as wicked, as opposed to their choice or their right to be. There's something wrong with you.
You're intolerant.
Yes, you're intolerant of this person's freedom and choices. But it's pure lunacy, though. I mean, if we was to think about this whole idea of gayness, right? If everybody decides to be gay, how long does the population last? It dies off, right? It's the end of the world. If everybody decides that they're just gonna be homosexual, right? Homo. We learned what homo means the other day. When I say we, I mean the kids. If we all become homosexual,
Homo sapiens is gone.
there's no more. If Homo sapiens become homosexual, they all become homo dead. Right? It can't continue.
Well, these wicked people is out here trying to make men have babies, though. With their science and technology.
It's hard.
But they're teaching the kids, because we're in the world, they're teaching the children at a young age now that is acceptable.
At the perfect age, though. At the perfect age. The perfect age for wickedness to set in. If you talk to some early 20-somethings-year-olds, these are the most progressive, quote-unquote, progressive people that there is. Because they've been... if you can't see me, I'm putting air quotes when I say progressive, right? These people, these 20-year-olds, these early 20-year-old people that right now, they've been inundated, over the time that they kind of started this whole thing that they're doing now. These people are out of their minds.
It's starting younger than that.
No, it started already. I'm saying those ones, they're experts. I'm saying the young adults now are experts at the foolishness.
Because they have been influenced by it for their whole life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they've been doing it. I'm saying the young people right now are experts at wickedness.
Yeah. When we was coming up, if you was a boy and you was saying you was a girl, man, you wouldn't survive.
No.
You would not survive.
No.
Not saying nobody would kill you, but it would just be every day.
It would be bad for you.
Yeah, it was just, people would not accept that. They were like, what?
No. It's different times.
What about if there was a man in high school that wanted to swim on a girls' team?
Oh, no.
No.
That would never be acceptable.
But they got those things now. And it's so ridiculous.
Or track.
It's so ridiculous. Like the whole reason why they came up with this whole separation in the first place is understanding that the two sexes are different from each other. So let's include these other ones and let them have their thing that they do. And men and women have their things. Each one's boys, girls, men, women have things that they do. And then they do it against each other. It's because it's the best of the best of each side. When I saw that race, it was ridiculous. You talking about these, as far as it was a girl's race with a man who said he's a girl, who races as a girl, and it wasn't even close. Like, he beat the girls and was done chilling for a while. And then the second place person came. And this was like a championship thing. Like, it was a thing. Like, it wasn't like this was supposed to be like evenly matched things. And he finished. He was done, and then he just was, catching his breath and everything. And then the second place person came later. Like,
it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. The world is crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's wicked. It's evil. And, we have to be able to make a separation between us and them.
I mean, anybody who would look at things like this, to see men racing against women and just like destroying them, or men fighting women, wrestling
That
women,
too.
all of this stuff.
They got all that. Anything you could think of, they got it.
Yeah, like literally putting women in the hospital and MMA and all this different stuff. Anybody who would see that and be like, oh yeah, that was a good match. It's like literally.
It's crazy. It's lunacy.
It's lunacy.
Or progressive, whatever word you want to use. my goodness. These people are out of their minds. All right,
Or
drop
what
down.
are out of ours?
One of the two. One of the two. I don't know. All right, read 17 and 18.
17 and 18, it says, when you say in your heart, these nations are greater than I am unable to drive them out. Do not be afraid of them. Remember well what Yahweh your Elohim did to Pharaoh and to all Mitzrayim.
Okay, very good. Recognizing and understanding what you're up against, it's understandable. He's saying, look, you will say in your heart, look, these nations are greater than you are. You, in and of yourself, are indeed unable to drive them out. But understanding that it's not you that's doing it, right? It's the Most High, right? He said, look at the situation, assess what's there, understand the severity, the enormity of the situation. Realistically look at the thing, and realize what it is. But don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid. He said, remember well what Yahweh your Elohim did to Pharaoh and to all Mitzrayim. Okay? When we think about what it is that the Most High did for Israel in Egypt and with Pharaoh, understanding that who Israel was compared to who Egypt was, there's no reason why Israel was supposed to win in that battle. But because of who the Most High is, we're able to know that he will defeat our enemies, and we don't have to be afraid of these insurmountable odds that we face, and the fact that when we look around, there's nobody that's doing what we're doing. A small few, right? But Yeshua tells us that straight is the gate and narrow is the path, but few there are that find it. The road to destruction is a wide road, right? The road to destruction is a wide road. The road to righteousness is a narrow road, right? Straight don't mean in a straight line. Straight means narrow. It's a narrow road, right? It's like a little balancing beam. It's a balancing beam in the middle of a 6-lane highway, right? And so, we have to understand that, from a realistic standpoint, the odds are against us. Everything that seems right from the other side's perspective is wrong, right? The things that we all do, it don't go align with the will and the ways of the world. But we can't look at the situation and say, oh, this life is so hard, I can't do it. The odds are so stacked against me. It's too hard to be right. I'm just going to sit up here. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. we can't we can't have this type of an attitude. He's saying, when you say in your heart these nations are greater than I am, I'm unable to drive them out. He said, do not be afraid of them. Remember what Yahweh your Elohim did to Pharaoh and to all Mitzrayim. Oh yeah, they all died in the Red Sea. They all got swallowed up by the mighty axe of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's look at a couple things over in chapter 8 and be done. Let me go over to the next chapter here. Go over to chapter 8 and read the first two verses here. Eight verse 1 and 2.
Guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live, and shall increase, and go in, and shall possess the land of which Yahweh swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that Yahweh your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you, prove you, to know what is in your heart, whether you guard his commands or not.
Okay, very good. So we look over here and we start at verse 1, dealing with this next chapter. And again, you know, this idea of shamaring, to guard, to keep, to secure every command which I command you today. All the things that the Most High is given to Moses to give to the people, he's saying guard all of these things so that you'll have life. Accept the life that I'm giving you. I'm telling you how to live a life that is life. I'm showing you the way of life so that you can have life and increase and go and possess the land. And he said, remember, and you shall remember Zakar, to recall, to think about, to acknowledge, to make known the fact that Yahweh led you all these 40 years in the wilderness for a reason. When we look at this chapter 8, he gets into the reason why it was necessary to even go through this whole 40-year situation. And that reason being to humble the people, to prove the people, and to know what was in the heart of the people, whether they will guard the commandments or not. And so when we think about what our life is in this world that we live in, this world that's against us, right? This is our wilderness, right? Where the Most High will humble us and prove us to know what's in our heart. Let's look over here at again, thinking about verse 2, this idea again of knowing what's in our heart. He wants to know whether or not, we, truly have the heart of stone or the heart of flesh, right? Do we have a purified heart, or do we have the heart of flesh, which encases the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Do we have in our heart light, or do we have in our heart darkness? Do we have in our heart life, or do we have in our heart death? Right? He puts us in these situations to know what we'll do. Right? Because you make professions as to what you are, who you follow, who is your master. And he says, oh, I'm your master. Okay, we'll do what I said then. Oh, you're faithful? Here, let me put you in a situation where there ain't nothing you could do but exercise faith. And then let's see what happens. When we look at the experience in the wilderness, it refines Israel as a whole. It refines Israel, right? It takes away that which, is the extra baggage per se, right? Those that are wicked die, right? So Israel as a whole is renewed in the wilderness so that it's able to go into the promised land. And so likewise, when we think about us and our wilderness experience going through this life, which is our wilderness, we go through these things that humble us, that prove us. There's parts of us that die and stay in the wilderness, and there's parts of us that move forward. And there's some of us that die in the wilderness and don't never go to the other side. And so we have to understand that the Most High has a plan for our lives. He has within His will, for us, as being His people, Israel. He wants for us to be able to, to make it through this wilderness. But understanding, we have to understand that this thing that we are in, it can be uncomfortable. But it's uncomfortable for the purpose of us growing. Here, look at this word here. Let's look at let's see where this is here. Verse humble, prove. Oh, it's verse 2. Let me click on it here. This word here, prove. Humble and to prove you and to know. This word prove is to tempt or to test. And so when we look back at Deuteronomy 6:16, where it said, do not test Yahweh your Elohim as you did back in Massah, that same word, tempt or test, is what he's doing to you. The thing that he said don't do to him, he's doing to you. We looked at before where it said that, the thing that he required of you, he required of his own self in terms of faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please Elohim. But he's faithful. But he said, don't tempt me. But I'm going to tempt you. This word here, I want to look at this word here. Prove. Prove is Nasah. This word here. This word here is one of those words that, people like me don't use. This is some fancy English word here. Let me pull up this dictionary here. Fancy English. Okay, here's the word here. Okay, here's the word here. It says, this word here is, where's the number one word at? The trial of the goodness, purity, weight, value of metals or metallic substances. the trial of goodness, purity, weight or value of metals or metallic substances. So if I'm trying to figure out the value of a particular metal, I'm using this particular process in order to determine what I'm dealing with. Right? Assay. Right? We sit up here and we say, I am an Israelite. I am a follower of Yeshua HaMashiach. The Most High says, okay, I'm going to prove you. I'm going to assay you. I'm going to put you through a trial to determine your purity and your weight and your value and your substance. I'm going to see if the things that you say about yourself is true. He said, don't do that to me. Who I am is self-evident. I show you who I am. There's no guessing to be done about it. But I'm going to do it to you because you
lying.
you're not always what you say. Right? Let's see here. Where is it? Oh, in law, an examination of weights and measures by the standard. An examination of weights and measures by the standard. We are measured by the standard, which is the law, the Torah. Right? We're measured by the standards of the Most High. If we say that we are followers of the Most High, if we say that that Yeshua HaMashiach is in fact our master, then there's a way in which we must live. And so he's going to put us to the test. And that's what the Most High did with Israel in the wilderness. And one of the things that they, that was a test for the people in the wilderness was, here, read verse 3 right here.
Verse 3, and it says, and he humbled you and let you suffer hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh.
The Most High decided that dealing with this people Israel, who said that they were going to have the Most High as their Elohim, he was going to be their Elohim, they was going to be his people. We have to come to the place where we determine that the Most High is indeed our Elohim. And when we say that, we're saying that he, in fact, is our mighty one. We are going to depend on him to sustain us, to lead us and guide us. He said, okay, let's see. I'm going to give you this manna thing, right? This manna, which literally means, it's a question. It really means what? What is it? Right? What is it? Right? If we look at Exodus 16 and 15. Exodus. Read verse 15.
And the children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, it is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat.
Yes, what is it? This manna, right? This thing that the Most High gave to the people that Israel had to sit up there and eat. And, different times we see where the people are complaining that all they're eating is this manna. All they're getting to eat is this thing that's being provided for them miraculously from the Most High. That they don't have to plant. They only have to gather. And miraculously lives for 2 days on the 6th day, so that you don't have to you don't have to break the Sabbath and go gather it on the 7th day. and it rots, every day except for that miraculous 2-day period that exists. But then after that, it rots, and then miraculously they are able to take a bowl of it and put it inside of the ark, and it lasts for the life of the ark. It never rot. This miraculous thing that is given to the people from the Most High, that they're not able to fully understand exactly what is it. And it's so interesting that when we look at Yeshua, when he talks to the knowledgeable people, the scribes and the Pharisees in the book of John, where he describes himself as the bread from heaven, the manna. We think about Yeshua, he also is one that provides
True bread.
sustenance for us, right? He brings us life in a way that's somewhat incomprehensible. We can't understand the fact that the Most High sends his son. We didn't even know he had a son. He sends his son to die for our sins. Meanwhile, we usually have this lamb that we slaughter for the atonement of sins. He sends forth Yeshua, and he causes for his death to happen in the context of Passover. Yeshua is called the Lamb of God, and he dies in a way that exemplifies the Passover lamb, where he provides for us redemption. Where as a people, we didn't have a human sacrifice. So when we think about Yeshua, again, where he speaks about himself as being the bread of life, he refers to his own self as the manna, where we look back at this thing that we experienced in the wilderness, this what is it, this thing that we don't fully understand, but every day we ate it. We didn't have a total comprehension of what this thing was, yet and still our inability to fully understand it didn't keep it from sustaining us. And so again, we think about what it is Yeshua provides for us. Who is he? Is he creator? Is he created? Is he one with the Father? Is there three? Is there two? Is there one? What is it? But when we are able to accept what it is that he does for us, that's all that's necessary for us to be able to understand. Is that he came and lived and died and resurrected and sending back his Ruach HaKodesh for us to be able to walk in the ways of the Most High. There's a simple thing that we have to be able to digest. The rest of what it is that there is of Yeshua we'll know in the end.
Yes.
But what we need to know is what he came to do for us, and being able to accept what it is that he done for us. Just like the manna that was sent down from heaven, it was there from the time that the sun began to rise up. Boker in the morning was when it was there. When the sun got to its hot point, the stuff melted away. Except on the 6th day. It lasted 2 days. Miraculously. So we're able to see in the manna, the physical manna, the miraculousness that exemplifies who Yeshua is. Let's look over some of his words. We'll end with Yeshua's words over here. We go over to chapter 6. read a few of these verses. Start reading at verse 31. Verse 31.
Oh, 31. It says, our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it has been written, he gave them bread out of the heaven to eat.
32.
Therefore, Yeshua said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, Moshe did not give you the bread out of the heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread out of the heaven.
Okay, it's interesting that Yeshua over here was able to derive that when they said he gave them bread out of heaven to eat, that the he that they was talking about was Moses. But Yeshua said, truly I say to you, Moses is not the one who gave you the bread from heaven. My Father gave you the bread from heaven. The bread from heaven comes from the Father. So he wanted them to understand that manna, bread from heaven, comes from the Father. Right? He wanted for them to understand that. Okay? Keep going. 33.
Says, for the bread of Elohim is he who comes down out of the heaven and gives life to the world. So they said to him, Master, give us this bread always. And Yeshua said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall not get hungry at all, and he who believes in me shall not get thirsty at all.
Okay, very good. So we see over here with Yeshua again describing himself as, and this is interesting too, because when we think about Yeshua, a lot of things that we see that Yeshua is in the so-called New Testament is kind of a fulfillment of some earlier thing that we see in the prophets or in the Torah. But when we think about who he is as the Lamb of God, or when we think about who he is as the bread of heaven, these are things that we only see in reference to him. Even though he says, he refers back to the manna, which we know of, but manna is not necessarily referred to as the bread of heaven like that. But we know that manna is the bread that came down from heaven. And so when we think about the fact that where it talks about this idea of eating this thing and never being hungry, and believing in who he is and never being thirsty. I guess I said, well, I want to just touch on this other thing here, because when we think about this thing that Yeshua is hinting to, he's hinting to these other places in Scripture that cause us to think about, this messianic figure. If we look at Isaiah, look in Isaiah real quick. Isaiah 49. Because he's talking about this idea of never being hungry and never being thirsty. But why is he saying that? Like, what does that mean? Like, you'll just won't have to eat anymore? Or, like, what's the point? Like, what's he getting at? Start reading that verse 8.
It says, thus said Yahweh, in a favorable time I shall answer you, and in the day of deliverance I shall help you, and I guard you and give you for a covenant of the people to restore the earth, to cause them to inherit the ruined inheritance.
Okay, so he's talking about this restoration thing that's going to happen, right? Okay, we're going to go on verse 9.
It says, to say to the prisoners, go out, to those who are in darkness, show yourselves. Let them feed on the ways, and let their pasture be on all bare hills.
Okay, so they're going to feed on the ways, and their pastures will be on the bare hills. But who's he talking about? He's talking about those that are going to be restored, right? Those that were in ruins, the people, the covenant people that are obtaining restoration. And then verse 10. What's verse 10?
Says, they shall not hunger nor thirst, neither heat or sun strike them. For he who has compassion on them shall lead them, even by fountains of water guide them.
Okay, so we see other places Yeshua talks about being the water. He said he's gonna be the water, and then when you partake of the water that he is, then you're gonna be like rivers of water, right, flowing from you. But this is the part we was looking at, verse 10, where it talks about the idea of not hungering or thirsting. The ones who's not going to be hungry and the ones who's not going to be thirsty are going to be the ones that are restored from the restoration process that the Most High is going to be, delivering the people. Also, similarly, in chapter 56 of Isaiah, read 1 through 5 right there.
1 through 5 says, Thus said Yahweh, guard right ruling and do righteousness, for near is my deliverance to come, and my righteousness is to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the son of man who becomes strong in it, guarding the Sabbath, lest he profane it, and guarding his hand from doing any evil. And let not the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yahweh speak, saying, Yahweh has certainly separated me from his people, nor let the eunuch say, Look,
oh, wait a second. This ain't the right chapter. It's chapter 55, my bad.
1 through 5.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no silver, come buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without silver and without price. Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread, and your labor for what does not satisfy? Listen to me, and eat that what is good, and let your being delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear so that your being lives, and let me make an everlasting covenant with you. The trustworthy, loving commitments of David.
All right, just 1 through 3 is good. So again, we see that this thing that the Most High is doing towards his people brings satisfaction to the people when all they have to do is come and partake. Right? Where they're provided for, their thirsts and their needs and their hunger is provided for by the giver, who is the Most High. So again, we see, when the Most High refers to, this messianic figure that will come and restore the nation, that figure is a provider of sustenance to his people. Just like we look back over in Deuteronomy, where the people in the wilderness were provided for by the Most High. They lived in the wilderness those 40 years, and their pants never ripped. Their shoes never wore out for 40 years. I got some old shoes, but I don't got no 40-year-old shoes. I'll tell you that right now. After a while, them things start to curl up. A flat shoe start to curl up at the end after a couple years. And you talking about 40 years? Jeans, they I tell you what, I don't know what they made this stuff out of, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't like blue jean material. But I done had like an undershirt just rip just from being old. You put that thing on and it just rip. Just from getting washed and getting old. And that thing be just a couple years old. You talking about 40 years? That's a miracle. Right? And so when we think about Yeshua, what he is as the bread of life, back in chapter 6 over here, he is for us a provider of all that we need if we understand him to be who he's, describing himself to be as this bread of life. This thing that's slightly confusing because if we drop down to 54, people are done after this. They hear this and they're like, man, I can't follow what you talking about. You done went off the deep end when he said verse 54. What did I say right there?
He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood possesses everlasting life, and I shall raise him up in the last day.
Read 55 to 56.
For my flesh is truly food, and my blood is truly drink. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood stays in me, and I in him.
People heard that and then they was like, I don't even know what you talking about when he said that. But the thing is that again, he's explaining himself to be the bread of life, the manna. And we don't know what it said your fathers didn't know what it was that they was eating. Talking about the manna. And then now he's describing himself as the manna, and we don't know what we eating either. We just know that when we eat it, we got life. And so, saying all that just to say that, sometimes we seek to, have all this understanding about who Yeshua is and, all of his essence, having a total understanding of the essence of who he is, and he don't call for us to know that. He calls for us to know that he came to do a task, to perform a task, and we need to be able to accept the thing that he's done for us. And when we just only do that, when we just understand that he is in fact the bread of life, and we eat of him, and we eat his body, and we drink his blood, we do indeed have everlasting life. Even though, we don't know what the manna is. And so it's interesting, when you think about Yeshua, who he was in terms of the prophecies that went forth, there was confusion even in him as being Messiah, because, when you think about in Acts chapter 1, let's look at this real quick. We'll be done here in a second here. Acts chapter 1. Read verses 5 and 4. Read 4, 5, and 6. Hold on, let me put it up on the screen real quick. Go ahead.
And meeting with them, he commanded them not to leave Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which you have heard from me. Because Yohanan truly immersed in water, but you shall be immersed in the set-apart Spirit not many days from now. So when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Master, would you at this time restore the rain to Israel?
7. Read 7.
And he said to them, It is not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has put in his own authority.
So when you think about Yeshua at this time when, he had rose from the dead, he was going to go back to the Father and come back, send his Spirit back from the Father. The people at this time was like, okay, this is the end. You about to restore the kingdom right now. They knew of the prophecies of who Yeshua was to be. It talks about in Isaiah chapter 7, where it talks about there won't be no end to his rule, and all of this. And we think about the fact that, so these people, they didn't have the knowledge of exactly the timing of how Yeshua was going to be, at this time. Was this going to be the end? Was this going to be the beginning of a long period? What it was going to be? There was confusion about HaMashiach and what it was that he was exactly going to do. Saying all that just to say that there is a connection again between this idea of Yeshua being the manna, being this this bread from heaven, and us not having a total understanding of all that is involved in who he is, but just understanding what it is that he's able to do for us. And so, thinking about that in the context of Deuteronomy in chapter 8, where it talks about the fact that, the Most High sent this manna so that we're able to trust in him. He sent this thing that we don't have full knowledge of so that we're able to trust in this thing and not, lean on our own strengths and understanding, but lean on what it is that he provided for us. And so when we're able to do this, like these people were over here in Deuteronomy, they lasted through the times and understood that the whole point of all of this is so that they're able to trust in the Most High, so that they're able to not just live off of the physical things, but understanding that true life comes from the food that we take in from a spiritual standpoint. We can't only be worried about things from a physical perspective because we're not able to see what things really are in what they truly are in the spirit realm. The most important thing when we think about who we are in our essence as created in the image of the Most High, who is spirit. When we get down to the bottom of things, we are spirit beings that live in this physical body. And so, we have to be able to, first of all, reconnect ourselves back to the spirit, back to the Most High, and then continue on in this physical world, with that spiritual connection, and understand that, there's things, yes, that this body needs in order to function, but we need to first, our first priority must be for us to receive that spiritual food, that bread from heaven, that manna, Yeshua, and his flesh and his blood, so that we're able to even be strengthened enough to make it in this world that has a lot of things that are fashioned against us, and we'll be able to make it through our wilderness when we are able to trust in the provisions that are made for us by the Most High through Yeshua HaMashiach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that being said, I'm going to just look at this real quick. I think that that's all I wanted to talk about from chapter 8. See if we have any questions or comments. We skipped over. What does this person say here? The world has like 70 genders. Yeah, a bunch of flags without actual country. Yes. Yes, it definitely is a wicked world that we live in. And, in order to make it through it, we have to be able to, put on our full armor of Elohim, which starts with Yeshua HaMashiach. All right, so that being said, I think we will be done for now. We want to remember to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Share this video with people so that they could subscribe to the channel. Make comments, hit the like button. Make sure you've hit the notification button so that whenever the new videos come out, we'll be able to, you'll be able to be reached. We ask that you enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. And y'all willing, we'll be back on next week to continue with our look at the Torah. So for now, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We'll see you next time.